We feel the love. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Debbie Sugarbaker, and I like to call them cosmic chats, but they can really be about anything. And they're interviews where I bring on people who are elevating consciousness in whatever realm. Some people are in the health realm, some people are with food. Yehuda's in the realm of spirituality, background in Kabbalah. So that's what I do. And today I'm joined by Yehuda Berg, who is a dear friend of mine. And he's written several books. He is a prolific author, and we're going to talk a little bit about them today. He is also the son of the Rav and Karen Berg, who many people know. So that's a small introduction to Yehuda, but we'll talk more. Is there anything you want to add?
No.
No. Okay. we like to keep it simple. So.
Yes. And we'll get into stuff. So
we'll get into stuff.
Great.
Exactly.
Yes.
We've prepared a great interview. So, all right. So first of all, as I mentioned, I know that you are the son of the Rav and Karen Berg. Both of us happen to be very. I was very close with Karen. I didn't know the Rav as well, but and many people. Those are two souls who have really impacted the world in a massive, massive way. And I know that many people have had miracle stories. Myself, I have miracle stories with Karen, just being in Karen's presence, and with the Rav as well. So I wondered, as their son, someone who grew up with the Rav and Karen Berg, can you share with us a story, something that comes to mind for today?
It's funny. When I think about my parents, I think about them differently than I would than almost everybody else in this world, because I had a different experience. But and thousands of stories that you hear, and people tell stories about people who have either influenced their lives or something happened, and they have their own experience. And then you hear stories about other people's experience. What's interesting with them is when you feel the stories live, for instance, the first time my parents went to Morocco, me and my brother tagged along, and we wanted to go to see all these, it's a very spiritual country, period, and they also have some very spiritual, high energy sites. And my father was literally walking.
It was in Morocco, right?
Yes, in Morocco, 1989.
Okay.
We're literally walking the streets. We went into a shop, and my father is dressed like a regular, quote, a regular person. Pants, shirts, probably even a polo shirt. Some random guy comes to him and asks him for a blessing. And I was like, I don't understand. One thing is if you're wearing something that would promote, he didn't wear
look like a rabbi.
Look like a rabbi,
right.
Look like a priest with a collar, and you go, Father bless me, or there are certain codes of dress code where okay, this person is special, and it's not the first time. It's just the first time it registered in my mind. He would literally be walking the streets and people would ask him for a blessing. I remember once me and him we went for a date to Chicago. Someone was in need and asked him to go, and my mom couldn't join him. I go with my dad to Chicago. We fly there, and my dad's like, what? We're just here for this one thing. He went with shorts and t-shirt, literally, which he didn't do much. He didn't do often. But occasionally when he was in a place where he thought no one would see him, literally.
He allowed himself to be more casual. He was a Leo after all.
Exactly. But your dad's Leo, so you know a little about this. Literally someone in his short and t-shirt asked him for a blessing. It was mind-blowing. Anyway. When I think about them, because their essence, love, light, all that we talk about in the spirit world, they live that. So it's not it's not even shocking. It is what it is. When people have that energy, people aren't necessarily connecting. People don't connect to the Dalai Lama because of his dress, because of his
Right.
heart. People don't like when people are connecting to people of that level. People are connecting because what they have inside and not the external. Now, funny,
Right.
my mom. The first story that comes to my mind about my mom, who you deeply connected with when she was physically inhabiting this planet. Um, in 10th grade, I was captain of our basketball team in high school. And we needed to do a practice. We had a very important game on Thursday. On Tuesday night, we were going to go practice. Our van broke down. And everyone's like, okay, we'll go home. I guess there's nothing. I'm like, one second, let me just call my mom, see if, like, what? Anyway, I call up my mom. I'm like,
When in
Mom,
doubt, call mom.
Mom, our van broke down. Is there any way? So not only did she come and take us, she got a friend of hers to come and take the other because we were 12, and we basically, not only did she get whatever she was doing, and she stopped doing that. And the next day in school, one of my friends in school was like, your mom's great. Like, and he wasn't even on the basketball team. He just heard that it just happened, and
Karen saved
that
the day.
her heart and caring even permeated to people who really didn't know her,
Right.
just by her actions.
Beautiful. Beautiful stories. Thank you for sharing. Now, we have a few people who've been talking. First of all, there's so many comments, so much love. Love you, YB. And a few people have mentioned your books. So that's something that I also wanted to mention today, because you have been a prolific writer in your life. You have many books, under your belt. I actually have a few of them here. And most notably, there's The Power of Kabbalah, and perhaps also the 72 Names of God. Here are a couple other ones.
Okay.
But I figured I'd make it more interactive. It's my props. But so what can you tell us? First of all, which book maybe was your favorite to write? And maybe you want to talk about, I don't know, 72 Names of God, Power of Kabbalah. What was your process like? These books have impacted, I know for me, it dramatically changed the course of my life. So these books have impacted a lot of people. What do you have to share about it?
Okay, so it's interesting. I think we'll get more into it afterwards. But there's when I look at my life, not look back. That sounds like someone who's on the other side. But when I look at my life, there are different segments of my life.
Right.
We had growing up, and between Israel and New York, and then I didn't go to college, went to rabbinical school and all that. And till like the age of 24, just study. And then I have 24 to 40, 41. That was more, deep dive into Kabbalah realm. And then I have the last few years of my life where I did a big deep dive into my own personal kind of place. So in that Kabbalah place, my first project that my dad ever gave me was daily prayer by age of 17. He's like, you should do this, da da da.
I think it cut out. You said the daily prayer book,
oh
right?
oh yes, sorry. Daily prayer book. That was my first project, and that was a 3-year project. Literally everything. I put everything into that. A, because it was my first, and B, because I wanted it to be perfect, which it's definitely not. Nothing's perfect, but I tried to do as perfect as possible. After that, so that's my one of the first things I did. But when my father we used to study. Me, my brother, and my father would from the age of 15 to like 15 to 18. We studied together, the three of us. And after high school, as projects necessitated, I would spend a lot of time with him at night, mainly because on the day he was working, and on different projects. So we ended up having this cool quality time. And then he's like, maybe we could find some meanings for the 72 names. Because in Kabbalistic literature, it was never in one place. It was all over the place. And so at first it was exciting. You found one here, you found one there. And then it got being really frustrating. Because it's not a book you could publish by having 50 of the 72 explained, or 60 of the 72, or even 71 of the 72 explained. You had to go through all.
You need it to be complete.
Fully. So it was very frustrating. I almost gave up. And one day, and constantly my father's pushing me. I mean, obviously sometimes in what felt to me too much, but in a not gentle and not so gentle way, he kept me going forward. And then one day I literally walked into an old bookshop, and it had this red book, and it had a lot of the 72 names, and that was sort of the it helped complete the project. And
it was kind of like a divine intervention, a divine inspiration,
completely
hit. Yeah.
My father had similar thing happen to him. He was working on one of his books on the Aramaic, 22 Aramaic letters, on the power of the alphabet,
right?
Or the power of the Hebrew letters. I forgot the name of the title, and he was stuck. He was stuck in one of the letters, as into what to go into it. And he told me, we were living in Israel at the time, and he went to the resting place of his teacher and his teacher's teacher in Jerusalem. He went to them in order to get inspired, in order to figure out what he needs to put into it. So when he told me that story, I knew that, I knew that, and then because he then got inspired, maybe not immediately, but eventually he finished the book, and I knew that a similar thing would be happening here, and eventually. So
it's like when we're undertaking things, like this is kind of like a Karen thing. When you're undertaking something that's going to benefit people, especially on a spiritual level, you're definitely divinely assisted. And that's a great message for the people who are listening too,
Yes, for sure. And there's a lot of times, we're at a place where, and most of the time I don't know the answer.
Right.
But there's a big question in sort of, it's a philosophical question, it's a spiritual question, it's a human question. When you get rejected once, you get rejected twice, you get rejected 3 times, or when is it time to let go, and when is it time to persist? And this balance between, because letting go could also open a lot of things to enter. But also, sometimes you need to persist. Like, I think it's 13 publishers that rejected Harry Potter. And there's like, and if they didn't go to the 14th, right? And I'm sure there's other stories of, by letting go and not pushing through, something is revealed. So there's a constant battle between.
There's many different ways that we need to get there. Is it depending maybe on the tikkun of the person?
It depends on the person. Depends on,
the direction.
There's no hardened law for understanding this, right? Sometimes a person is meant to go the 14th time, and sometimes a person is meant to finally let go, and then something even bigger than themselves. So when I use a story, it's not to say, theoretically, my father could have done the 72 names of God. Theoretically, somebody else,
Right.
you know, in the Kabbalah Zone or somebody else in the world, right?
Right.
If it was time for this information to come, it was going to come.
Right.
If it wasn't time, it wouldn't have come. So,
Right.
you know, not always you have the key to open the right door. Sometimes the key is not in your hands, it's in somebody else's hands, and sometimes the door is not meant to be open. But if it is, you need to go through a certain steps. So I'm not saying, you know, always to persevere. I'm not saying always to let go. I'm just saying there's always a balance.
You need to find what you need to do.
Yes. Definitely.
So basically this is a great, I just wanted to pause because I realized that maybe some of the people who will watch this video or the people who are watching may not even know, we've been talking about the 72 names of God, and may not even know what that is. So do you want to give a quick explanation, or do you want me to just explain real quick?
Maybe you explain.
So basically, I'm with the one who revealed it, and I'm going to explain. So the 72 names of God are basically 3-letter combinations of the Hebrew letters, each one which is like a portal of a certain energy of the Creator. So if you look at a 72 names of God book, I wish I had it here. There's different combinations of letter, and each one can reveal a different energy, spiritual energy. So there's like one with the energy of soulmate, or for letting go, or for recapturing the sparks, you know, calling back those energies that we may have lost when we were, you know, doing something that, you know, was kind of off of our path. We can bring that energy back to us. So they're really powerful tools to work on the spiritual level and to really see change in your life. For me personally, when I found the 72 names of God, it was probably 15 years ago. I literally felt like I transformed my life, and only I can know that because I know the process that I went through internally, and I know how they impacted me. Definitely helped me transform my life. So that's the 72 names of God. You can look up more about it, and maybe Yehuda can add anything that I missed.
First of all, no. But I just, you know, they're tools. There's many tools in the universe to be able to help us. Happens to be one of them that I hold dear. Happened to be the one that my father actually said you should do this. But you know, as you said, it helps bring down specific channels. You know, if it's with children with different things, it helps bring down these energies. Again, can a person do this without it? 100%. Yes, we could manifest many things in our life just by prayer, by asking, by meditating, and
by using our own power of our consciousness.
Yes.
Now people are like,
this just helps filter out some of the negative thoughts or some of the negative energies that are blocking us from achieving whatever we need to achieve.
Beautiful. So I wanted to go on to our next question now, which is, unless there's anything else you feel to add.
No.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, like, what are you doing now? You know, I know that people might be curious. Thank you so much for all the hearts, all the love. You've been invited to Monterey, to France. 72 names of God I use daily. The power of Kabbalah changed my life. 72 names is the best. A lot of people that are, so, you know, a lot of people understand and are feeling us.
Yes.
But yeah, what are you up to now? 72 names of God, my favorite book, it changed my life.
Okay. So, in 2013, my dad passed away, which entered for me a new universe. I found a lot of truths, not necessarily great truths about myself, and I went down a path of really self-discovery. I had some addiction issues. I went to rehab. I did all kinds of self-discovery tools using a vast array of kind of interesting
Spiritual healing modalities.
yeah, but not not necessarily things that are easily found. Some of the ways that I got the things was a friend to friend to friend, crazy kind of connections. But I really, because when I grew up, I had, as I said, I had parents who had all the answers for themselves, went through their own transformation, had I mean, my father grew up ultra orthodox. My mom grew up connected to nothing, had some spirit in her, and that combination led to both of them getting answers about a lot of things. And between them, they not always from the beginning, but eventually received answers to their process. When I got thrown into this, I was expected to have the answers, but I didn't. So in that space between not even understanding what questions I need to be asking myself, and then getting to answers, eventually I left my job and my life at the Kabbalah Center to go and find myself.
Right.
And because I was looking for answers in most of all the wrong places, right? Drugs, alcohol doesn't give you answers. It gives you escapes. It doesn't give you answers to your questions. It eventually gives you even more questions and answers, more problems and solutions. So I looked for answers in all the wrong places, and I started this path of discovery in the right places. Did some regular therapy, did some plant medicine, did some theta healing, which is awesome, and all these spiritual modalities in order to get more whole, in order to get more, to feel more at peace. And so I spent, I guess by now, 7-8 good years and now I feel I want to connect to people and just share. And I finished last month level 2 theta healing, which is awesome. And I'm gonna go there's a third level called Dig Deeper that I'm planning to do very soon. And you really, that, for instance, is a level of energy that you get to where things are revealed, where answers are easier to be accessible. And that's something I am doing, and not because and only, but in my mom's last 3, 4, 5 years of her life, she had this mission. She had this mission of, she would say, global spirituality, which means there are truths everywhere.
Right.
In almost every single modality of spiritualism, there's truth. In every religion, there's truth. In every entity that is following a specific practice, there's truth. And what she tried to do was to learn from them, from the different diversified groups, modalities, and practices, and bring it all as one. So
to recognize that common thread. And it's interesting that we're talking about this, because I actually, from maybe starting 10 years ago, worked on Karen's team with the global spirituality stuff. So I think it's really interesting that this came up in this conversation, and maybe it's for, probably, of course it's for a reason, but to find that common thread, that common energy, that we are connected on the spiritual level, we are one. Even though we may have all these different beautiful spiritual practices from all over the world, there is that spiritual essence that is the same.
Yes, and like if I'll get invited to a meditation session, I'm gonna go. If I'm gonna get invited, I will try everything, and then each person is different, right? We vibrate on a certain frequency, and our soul is connected to certain teachings from this journey that we're on, prior lifetimes that we've lived, and we carry baggage from there, we carry understandings from there, we carry a lot, and each person has to choose for themselves. Some people like to shop spiritual practice, which is also okay, but understanding that at some moment you need to actually buy the merchandise. You can't, the only
not about window. This is not about window shopping.
Yes,
this is
exactly.
about knowing who you are and knowing your path and knowing your connection to the divine, but being open and recognizing that there are other things that exist. It's not about being a spiritual surfer, spiritual shopper. It's, you're committed. At this point, I think many people who have been committed to a spiritual path of some point, or their own journey, or they're committed to their own soul for many years. So now this is kind of like a way for us to find more unity, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, my parents would go, one of their spiritual practices. Those of you who knew my dad, he would pray for a very, very long time. Most of his morning into early afternoon, he just was praying, until 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon sometimes. But whenever he was done, he would go with my mom. They would go for a walk. If it was here in LA, at the Franklin Canyon or one of the canyons out here, they would go for a walk, do their meditation, do their prayer meditation healing. And that was sort of, so they would go to nature and use meditation and prayer and healing in nature. And that was, my mom loved nature. So that was one of her tools, just by connecting to Mother Nature and Father Sky, and just be there in that place was just even enough for her. So I love nature. There's great ways of either grounding ourselves or connecting, or even getting messages through the trees, through the animals, through the birds. It's about being open, and
because it gets you also out of your usual bubble of energy. At least for me, I often go into go for a hike or whatever, and when I'm there, it's like you can definitely clear and then receive something, or even you go to nature, you just enjoy and you're present with everything, and then later you kind of, something becomes clear that wasn't clear. At least for me, that's my experience. It's interesting. Someone says I ground daily by bare feet in the grass, and you were talking about Karen, and I remember last year I was with Karen in the last months, and we would go outside because Karen wanted to put her feet in the grass on the ground, and it was just beautiful. I remember there was a rose garden and there was hummingbirds around, and now whenever I see a hummingbird, I just kind of feel like Karen's around. So I'm just putting that out there for people. I'm not the only one who kind of, and then randomly someone gave me a bracelet after Karen passed with a little hummingbird on it. So definitely we connect with energy and with spirit and with these positive, beautiful energies through nature.
Yes, and again, nature is one avenue. There's many avenues to connect. I try to not be limited by what I think I know, or what I think I've experienced. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't like nature, I'm like, maybe just either try it, or if you're not, just be open to something else. Just there's many things that we could do. Like, I pray. I wake up in the morning, I pray, right? It's part of my routine, part of my ritual, and I do feel it plugs me in. But just because I've prayed in the morning doesn't mean I don't try to do a meditation. It doesn't mean I don't try to literally go on the grass barefoot and connect. I love that. That's a great Just think, if you don't have grass, great, do something else. If you don't like the whole thing, and whatever it is, there's ways to be able
basically,
to.
we're not saying like that everybody has to do one thing. What we're
No,
in fact, what you're saying is the opposite. Find what speaks to you, what makes you feel connected to your own soul, to your own intuition, to what you need to do to move forward in your life and really to find that fulfillment, right?
yes, and again, this is my experience. Um, you have to battle when you have to battle. Yeah, for me, it was doubly challenging because one, I was trying to find answers, trying to find peace. As I said, from addiction and things that sort of haunted me. In the same time, there was a level of spirituality I already had, but that level of spirituality wasn't as deep as it needed to be for me to and like I asked myself, I know it's all divine timing, and I know things happen at the right time, at the right place, and the creative all that's good that's out there, and whatever that means to anyone, that by all means, if a person needs it to be a religious figure, great. A person needs it to be a spiritual figure, great. Whatever you need that to be. There's just, I believe there's a creator of all good that's in the universe, and there's divine timing. So even though there was a portion of my life where I was learning and teaching spirituality, even though I wasn't myself at the time, I was doing the best I could with the tools I had. And today I'm doing the best I can with the tools I have that are today, that hopefully in a year or two or three or four, the level that I'm at today wouldn't have been suffice for them, but today is who I have, what I am, and who we are.
Wow, that is like a really beautiful and wide perspective. Thank you for sharing that. Thinking about it benefit a lot of us. Yeah, we've got a lot of beautiful comments. Thank you for your experience. Everything is just this is from Donna. Everything is just an interesting point of view. So happy to hear you're finding your peace and wholeness. That's interesting, the point of view thing. All those things. We are nature. Commitment sets people apart. Wow, thank you so much, everybody who's joining us today. This has just been a beautiful talk. Yehuda, do you feel like there's anything else that we should go into today?
Well, in the past, I would basically preach, okay, and now you should do this, right? Whether if I'm giving a talk about a book, you end by going, okay, go buy this book, or go do this, or go do that, and that's the course of action. I would ask people to just explore, find something, even if you think you're in you have a good understanding of yourself and a grounding of yourself and at peace, find something that could enhance. As simple as going on YouTube and find a meditation, or go, if you're not someone who goes outside, go outside, just sit in the sun, just have the energy of the sun come at you. As simple as that, or as go online and do a course, do a Kabbalah course, do a something course, any course that you could find that enhances. So depending on the level of commitment you want to do to take a next step, whatever that next step is,
It's interesting you're saying this, because like I saw this random clip. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I saw this little clip that just popped up quickly yesterday. It was Kobe Bryant, and he was just saying, I caught like 2 seconds of it. He was saying, I'm always looking for more. I'm always looking to grow. I'm always looking for that next way to expand myself and to learn more. So it's just interesting. I just caught like 2 seconds of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think of myself. I think of my parents, and like, it's funny. My mom, so she wrote this book, God Wears Lipstick, and it's she didn't want it to be Kabbalah for women. Like, she felt she was speaking to everyone, and
Right.
and she happened to be one of the few Kabbalists who happened to be a woman. So it's like you're putting her in she felt she was put in a box, right?
Right.
Like you think I think of so I have many friends who like Gal Gadot is an actress from Israel, so
Right.
she has this sort of Israeli actress, Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman, right? You
Right.
come with that box, and my mom's didn't feel too wanting to be a woman for women. She wanted to be a spiritual Kabbalah teacher
Right.
for everyone.
Right.
And just using that kind of an idea, that's what we want to say. Find something. Every person who is spiritually inclined, add something. Add something to your way of being. And when I went to London a few months ago, COVID has changed my way of thinking of time. If you told me it was a week, great. If you told me it was 6 months, I would be like, okay.
We're all like in the twilight zone. Yeah.
I went there and I went to clinic. They did all my baseline medical stuff. They take a bunch of vials and all that. So I did the medical stuff. But then on the spiritual side, I tried to do every day breath work, which is unbelievable. This
Wow.
breath
You just
work
reminded me.
breath work completely opens you up. And, again, it's a practice that I love. There's a great practitioner in London. If you want to know her, she's great. I could give you details. There's also a great healer that I went to in London. Actually two. One was this Chinese dude. He was unbelievable. Like literally, you just felt he opened you right up, and he came through the body. So if there was a physical something that was stuck, he would unblock you physically, and then you felt your whole spiritual being open. And there's another healer that works more on a spiritual level. So again, there's many ways to go and enhance
change your energy and improve your energy.
So I would just encourage people to do something, anything, move forward.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Yehuda. Thank you so much for sharing with everyone today. Thanks everyone for joining this live. And feel free to connect with Yehuda. He's going to be, I've heard whispers of a podcast coming out and more lives and, just sharing more out there from his experience and his wisdom and just your beautiful energy. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. And thank you everybody for joining the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Abby.
Have a beautiful day.
You too.